Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show. Today we are discussing women in a professional working environment and how to balance with practicing your religion. I'm your host Soni Haroon and I'm joined by Sister Anjum Kasmani, who's a law graduate and working for a solicitor's firm. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show, Sister Anjum.
Walaikum salam.
And Sister Shabana Farooq, who's a qualified social worker working within child protection for the past 16 years and a mother of 3. Welcome to the show, Sister Shabana. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam.
Okay, so thank you for coming. It's a very important topic for women. So let's begin with the most important question. Are women allowed to work in Islam? What does Islam say about women working?
It's a good question. It's an important question.
Yes.
I think first you have to look at the role of women in their deen, in their personal way. And we know that the deen itself is a way of life. So this incorporates not only the role of a woman as a mother, which you straight away think of when you think of what is a woman, you think mother, or a daughter before she's a mother, but also in her personal life. So how she interacts with the society, how she actually gives back as well. And it's not just you giving back to your children or you're giving back to your parents, but it's also to the community. And then it's not only as a volunteer or in that capacity, but it's also your intellectual ability.
Absolutely.
And
yes.
giving it what the faculties that Allah has given you. And Allah has given women intellectual ability.
Absolutely.
And the ability to be leaders as well.
But I also think if you go back to the Prophet's time, Hazrat Khadija, she was a businesswoman.
Yes.
You know, she was very much into her career. So there's absolutely nothing wrong with women wanting to work.
As long as it's within the parameters
Yes,
of Islam.
exactly.
As long as, we are not compromising our deen and, we know what our roles are and it's mutually agreed
Yes.
between husband and wife, because I see that's a very important point. What do you think, at what point should we get the husbands involved? Say a girl is getting married, should it be at that time when you talk to the other side that yes, she will be a working woman, or you just bring it up later on and surprise them?
Surprise, I'm going to work today. You stay at home with the kids. No, I think it's before even you get married.
Yeah.
I think speaking with your prospective partners about your expectations, not just of them but of yourself, so that you're managing that expectation.
You know exactly what is happening, because that's very important, because a lot of women are working today and sometimes it comes as a surprise to the husbands and they think that, I was never told that you'll be a working woman. I thought you will be sitting at home. So
But I think that comes depending on who you are. When I got married, before I got married, my husband knew that I was very passionate about my career, and so he supported me all the way through. So I think it's important from the beginning, if you have that open relationship and talk about what you want for the future.
Absolutely,
then
yes.
inshallah, you will have
Yes.
that balance.
Yes, and we must understand that we can't compromise our deen or even with our modesty and be careful with free mixing and all these. If we look at all this, and then I think working inshallah is allowed. Can we think of examples from our from the deen of women who have been working? I can think of Aisha radiallahu anha.
Yeah.
She was a scholar and she was a physician.
Yeah.
She narrated about 2,210 hadiths, and also she was an expert on laws of inheritance, and she was giving fatwas at the time, the caliphate of Umar and Usman and Abu Bakr and all those times. So we've had women like that. Can you think of any other women who were
you mentioned Khadija radiallahu anha.
Yeah.
That's important, because if you look at our times, I think it's not just professions like go to university, get a degree, but we find a lot of mothers or people who have not necessarily done studies. They're following Khadija's role model and her way of entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
And so you're building a profession for yourself almost. And that's
Absolutely.
something which, mashallah, is quite inspiring.
Yeah.
So it's kind of alternative models. So you're not just your typical
So
lawyer.
why do women work? Like you said, they want to follow in the footsteps of Khadija, but there's so many reasons why women want to work, isn't it? It's not just about, sometimes they have to work to bring in that extra income. So it's
obligation.
And sometimes they work to explore their intellect. So there could be various reasons why women work, isn't it?
Sometimes it's also you don't even know the skills or talents you have within you. So you'll be doing something and other people will notice it of you. And they'll say, why don't you go and build on that? And so
that's when it hits you. Yes, I've got this.
So it has the opposite effect of, rather than them giving back to society, almost others are telling them you should build yourself up.
But you know, this is very interesting. That some women think that to further their careers, they have to compromise their deen, you know, and they believe that if you wear the hijab and the abaya, you can't further your career. Do you think that's true?
No, not at all. You know, when I started my career, I didn't used to wear hijab or jilbab at all. I wasn't very practicing, you know, I'd admit to that. But later on down the years, I did become more practicing. I did start wearing the abaya and hijab. And actually, my career's gone from strength to strength. So I can't say that that's hindered me in any way or it's kind of held me up in my career. What I will say is what I found is more respect. People are respecting me more, are respecting when I do go into somebody's house or, you know, and it could be Muslim, non-Muslim, people will be more respectful of me because of the way I'm dressed. Right. So no, not at all, I wouldn't say.
But why do women feel like that? Why do they think, do you think it's the media that's made it like that? That if you are in hijab and jilbab, then you can't, you know, further your career?
I don't know. I mean, maybe you grow up thinking as a female, and this is going into a different topic, but it's similar. You always have to compromise something. And so there's always a fear that if I do something, maybe I'm not doing it right. And so I don't think it's similar to what you said. It's that it does aid you rather than hinder you if you're able to be confident in who you are and stick by your principles. I think principles is very important. If you can show that what you're doing and you're confirmed in your faith and your taqwa in what you're doing, then the people will also respect you for it. But if you're questioning yourself, you're a bit awkward in how you are, then I think people will pick up on that. And ultimately, I think tawfiq is from Allah, and actions are by intention. So Allah is all aware of why we're doing what we're doing.
Have you ever felt that by you wearing the hijab, I know you work in a law firm, do you feel that, you know, you're out of place or you can't further your career because you're wearing a hijab?
Not currently in my working practice, but when I was studying to become a lawyer, I did feel that there may be certain, for example, commercial law and practice, the city legal world wouldn't be for me. But now having worked in the environment, I'm kind of, is what I said earlier, if you're not confident, then you're not going to be able to show that confidence. So I do regret in some sense not believing in myself that I could work in maybe a city profession. But that's just, you can see in hindsight, it's a bit differently, I guess, in your own.
Have you had to compromise your deen in any other way to further your career?
Not in the field that I'm in, because alhamdulillah, I'm working in like an Islamic firm and Islamic inheritance. But I do think it goes back to principle. That in other working environments that I have worked in, sometimes there's pressure on you, even if it's a Muslim environment, surprisingly, to do things which you might not want to do, which take you out of your principles.
Right. Like, for example?
Like, for example, traveling.
Okay.
You know, for some people, they think this is the working life. It depends where you are and what stage, but it's like jet setting here, there, and it's an expectation. And in one of my working roles, I had to do that quite a bit. And initially, I wasn't very comfortable with it. But that's the things that, you know, sometimes you make sacrifices for the sake of a profession.
Right. Have you had to make any sacrifices?
No, alhamdulillah, the career I'm in, it does allow me to be, you know, be quite open with my religion. Yes, you do get, because I work with the more vulnerable part of society, you do get people who will have certain views about you, but actually, alhamdulillah, because of the kind of nature of taking care of people and being in that caring environment, people will adapt to you, they'll adapt to your needs. So if I need to go and read my namaz, you know, now every you know, local authority will have prayer rooms. They will allow you to go. If Ramzan's coming up, they appreciate that it's going to be long hours, so they will allow you to go home early, or they'll say, let's change your working hours to adapt to that. So actually, I'm really
That's
quite
fantastic.
lucky. They're very,
brilliant.
very good. And I think, you know, from when I started my career 16 years ago, when you didn't have a prayer room, you had to erect something in a corner of the canteen to go and read your namaz, to now there's designated prayer rooms. I think we've come along quite significantly.
And like you said, that before you, when you joined work, you were not wearing the hijab and jilbab, and you put it on while you were at work. So that made a difference then. And how was it taken by this other members of staff there?
I think people ask questions initially, as a human nature is. People will want to know you're dressed one way, and then you've decided. And of course, the typical...
Did you have a lot of explaining to do?
Well, the typical thing was, did your husband make you do it? That's always the typical one. But actually, when you talk to people and you embraced people's questioning and gave them your responses, people could understand why you felt you needed to do it, why you were doing it. And actually, I found people to be really supportive, you know, from men to women, very supportive within my working environment when it comes to the way I present myself. And, you know, even my male colleagues will be very, you know, they know their boundaries.
Yeah.
They know them. It's very, very clear. So actually, I'm very fortunate in that respect.
Right, okay. All right, we have to go to a short break now, so we'll continue our discussion. Dear viewers, we're going to a short break now, but when we get back, we will continue our discussion on juggling the roles of motherhood, professionalism, and lots of other things. So stay tuned, don't go anywhere. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.